just 319,000 dirhams. That's right, just 319,000 dirhams. For preferential allotment, reserve your place in the Gold Line by pre-registering on www.damakproperties.com/lakeside.
For the first time in the Middle East, the DIFC Gulf Art Fair will bring 400 artists from 40 international galleries to participate in Dubai's first ever contemporary and modern art fair. The tickets, call Timeout Tickets on 800 4669 or visit gulfartfair.com.
I think I came to Dubai initially only to make money. Right? I'd heard that oil had been struck near Abu Dhabi only a few years before I came, which I came in 1976. And people said, those who are enterprising, those who are willing to take a risk, go to Dubai. I was the 6th or 7th lawyer in town. There was no other lawyer in town. So it was quite exciting in a way, but very difficult to make money at that time.
Why?
Because the population was so small, the infrastructure was so unsophisticated, banks were very few, commercial life was very limited, and I'm a commercial lawyer, so I had to persuade people to refer work to me about legal disputes when the legal disputes didn't really exist. And Mr. Baxter, until recently, there was no cultural environment at all. It was a commercial environment, a money-making environment. There was an Indian painter who, as early as 1976, Francis Souza, said, in terms of art, all they want to buy is supermarket kitsch. And he was completely right. The argument used to be that if you wanted to be faced with culture and enjoy the theater or the ballet or cinema, etc., go abroad. There's a limit to how many times you can travel just to see a play or see a good film. Okay, as more and more people take up residence here who are used to sophisticated atmospheres in their own countries, they demand a level of culture as a means of keeping them here. They don't want to simply be here for 3 months of the year. They want to live here. And they want to have theater. They want to have good cinema. They want to have good newspapers. They want to have art. The government sees it as a magnet to get people who are sophisticated with money to be here. If you told people that you could make $10 million in 5 years' time and there was just a desert, the right people wouldn't come here, right? They say we're making that sort of money abroad. If there is a cultural environment and it is fun to be here, and we like going out to the Madinat and seeing galleries and going to other areas and having artists come in and having ballet 2-3 times a year, having sports, it brings them in. It brings them in. It's very rare to see that happen in a place which is so commercial. But with the commercial growth of a place comes surplus capital. The ability to purchase art is very dependent on surplus capital, meaning the sort of capital that you just do not need.
هلا أهلين كيفك خالد؟ هلا برجع بحكي لك in 10 minutes بالضبط. فاتحين. يلا تعال. اوكي. يلا. اوكي باي. We have a visitor coming. He's a gallery owner also in Syria. That's gonna be here. When I opened the gallery, I was doing both. I was doing Western, I was doing, not really Western, Arab and Western, but my whole purpose was to promote modern art, educate people what modern art is. So at the beginning, it wasn't just, you know, modern art was still kind of new. Arab modern art was still kind of new. So you had to kind of show European artists and Middle Eastern artists to kind of get people understand what modern art is, or conceptual art, or art that's good and art that was, you know, a bit weak. So you had to kind of show them. So yeah, that was 4 years ago. The last year and a half, I've been only focusing on Middle Eastern art because it does have potential. I mean, we're in the Middle East, so, you know, we should take our, you know, culture, our people to a next level, our background to a next level. Because there's no culture in Dubai. There's no, like, real heritage to it. There is a certain modern culture. I think similar to America, just built itself and made itself into something. It's not a very mature market, so people are looking at this region, and, you know, with the Christie's auction being here, with the art fair happening, with all this happening, it's kind of like, what's going on in Dubai? Why are we focusing on Dubai? Why are we focusing on Middle Eastern art all of a sudden?
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of Christie's, thank you so much for joining us today for this private media view. Let me ask you just to quickly turn your mobile phones onto silent for me, please. I'm going to introduce our head table. We're going to watch a brief video, and then we'll have just a few minutes discussion from each of our specialists here today, and then we'll open the floor to your questions before you have the first look at some of our beautiful art and jewelry in the other room.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Thank you for coming. We're all very excited to be here ahead of our sale week in Dubai. It was just over a year and a half ago now that Christie's first opened an office in Dubai, the first international auction house to have a presence in the Middle East. There are funds coming up all around the world specifically dedicated to art. A lot of our big clients around the world now are buying because they see art as a form of investment, another way of diversifying their assets. You know, there's so much liquid wealth that people want to put it into something else now. There's still a lot of people who don't completely understand what we do and don't completely understand the market, so there's still a lot of education needed in terms of, you know, both the auction process and the art itself. But the appetite is there, the hunger is there, people want to know more about art, and so we're making great progress.
But I am art lover.
Same here.
Really?
Same here, I swear, that's all, really, you know. But I collect quite a lot.
Before, when I was young,
Yes.
I am lady lover and art lover.
Oh, right.
Now, I am old enough.
Oh, good. Excellent.
Give me your card.
I'm silly, I didn't bring it to you. But I'm coming to the auction today, and I'll give it to you.
Write your email.
Yeah.
Excellencies, Lords, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Tonight is going to be a very exciting sale, I'm sure. If you're bidding this evening, the very, very best of luck to you. And if you're attending a Christie's sale...
In the Arab world,
for the very first time,
people haven't been buying art for investment like in Europe and America. It's been going for 200-300 years. But now, with so much surplus wealth, people want to know where to invest. And particularly if they want to invest in something that they can partly flaunt on the wall. So they've got all the houses, they've got all the jewelry for the wife, they've got all the big cars. What else to do with your 200-300 million dirhams?
So last chance now for anyone in the room at 1,050,000. Not your bid, David. not your bid, Anthony, at $1,050,000. Setting it now for $1,050,000. Your bid, David, panel 848.
Actually, I know nothing about art. I never knew about art. And you know, our generation, we were not interested in art. We were interested in houses. We were interested in furniture. We thought furniture was something to concentrate on.
When we built the house, the first thing we were really looking at was we wanted the house to have like a museum quality feel. I started looking at the walls. I put down a list of what artists that would fit or suit the house with the measurements of the walls and all that. So we decided, I got in a couple of pieces of the artworks of the different painters and artists, and I sat down with Mom and Dad, and I was just like, what do you like, which pieces? Some pieces were too small for the walls that we were looking at. For instance, this piece right here for Shola. We liked her work. We thought it was her work's really nice, but the thing is, her pieces were too small for this wall. So the only way of doing it was commissioning her to do a three-piece. And that's when she met with Mom.
Yeah, she came over, she took the sizes of the wall, and then I told her what colors I like. And she went back, she did this for us, and it took her like 8 months.
It took her, less, 3 months.
Yeah, and then she sent them for us.
Yeah.
And I like it because it goes with the theme and the height of the walls. This is what I was telling Maliha. If you're going to bring some pieces to the house, I want them to be valuable, that have a value later on.
From the time we purchased them, the value went really high up. And they're international artists now. And some of them are artists that are dead, but once an artist is dead, his value goes up.
When we first started buying art, we thought it was, oh my God, too expensive. But now, we started enjoying it, feeling that this is, is going to be in the future, has a value, it's something you inherit to your children. So I think it's the best investment.
Dubai skyline, for me it looks like an architecture freak show. I'm not too fond of it, to be honest. Just like a mishmash of different style buildings. There's no harmony and there's no continuity with things. And some buildings, for me, it looks like designed like old like Arabic perfume bottles or something like that. Sometimes I don't feel like it's a reality actually living here, to be honest. Because when you go back abroad, you travel to Europe and then you go to the real countries, you realize this place is it's almost not real. There's nothing here that will that can inspire too much. So sometimes you have to coop yourself into your own world and watch lots of Discovery in Animal Planet, maybe. The chaos that's here and this that the system, the way the system works, everything has to be like such man-made and perfect. In this country you have certain rules that you have to follow, and this is one of them. The art, actually, even the magazine, there's so much censorship. You have like interior design magazine. If you see like a setting of like a living room, and the picture is in the back, you can see painting hanging from Matisse, maybe like nude. They even like mark that. I found that very bizarre. But here it's about what you drive, what you do, what do you work, how much is your salary. It is so important, that thing. So lots of people, they don't try to keep up, they feel left out, and they look down at somebody who has lesser stance in society in Dubai. There's lots of greed, basically. I don't know. And the way they take advantage of these poor souls, the laborers, and they work them to the max, and then try to charge so much money from what they are building, when they are building, like, basically it's so cheap labor here. In Dubai, they try to do, they have their idea of doing something never done before ever in the world, maybe in a long time ago or something. So they're trying to create that, and I find it very bizarre the way they're trying to do it. And and a lot of people are taken by what they are doing. To be honest, a lot of people come here, they get very impressed.
The poor man in the street really has very few rights. And yet if you ask those guys, would you rather be here living in that shed or back in Pakistan or India, he said, I'd like to be here. That's the odd thing about it all. Because he just cannot get employment at all back home. I must say one thing, that all the criticisms that people may make about Dubai and the UAE, yet they would not like to go back to India or Pakistan or even to England, by the way. A lot of British people, ordinary white Europeans, Caucasians, they may complain about a few things of Dubai. They do not want to go back because this laid-back life, right, and slightly holiday town atmosphere is something they cannot replete back home. It's bad weather, the tax is there, the bills come through the door all the time, people asking questions, which is not the case here. You're allowed to do what you want. It's a fairly laissez-faire society.
About from reading a magazine. It was just an article describing how there's 600 art fairs around the world, and it's something very odd that the Middle East didn't have an art fair at all. So I approached John. He thought I was absolutely nuts because I don't know that much about art. And we thought, yeah, an art fair could really work here. So we came out there, agreed to do it. John flew back.
Then he booked it.
We didn't pull out. So it went from there. I think we were lucky with our timing. And also the Dubai brand is worldwide known, and people want to come to Dubai. So I think it's certainly correct to say that had we done this, say, in another Middle East city, we wouldn't have had this response. But the Dubai brand, everyone wants to come here, wants to see what's going on.
It's not just about, what we're doing is not about setting up a commercial district, because we know that in setting up a strong commercial marketplace for contemporary art, it will encourage art. It is essentially patronage, another name for patronage. I think that about a year ago we thought it might be a mixture of antiques and, it could be anything. A year ago we just had to fill this venue that Ben had booked. That was our main worry. The thing is that as we got interest from a lot of contemporary dealers, the art world is you'll get some artists that for which, say, sexual imagery is an important part of their work, and basically they're not going to be able to show here. Sexual imagery actually is a tiny part of contemporary art. Most of it's to do with the making process and about abstract thought and interesting new ideas visually. And I don't think the fair, funnily enough, I realised about a month ago, going through some of the pieces that were coming in through photographs, I started thinking, well, in fact, this is a good thing. It's giving the fair a sort of character all of its own.
There's this line. Our goal is to try to get artists shown, collected, so it doesn't make sense to be in flagrant disregard of what is, frankly, at the end of the day, just culturally inappropriate. Especially in the States, which is, more where I'm from. A lot of that art scene is about knowing where the line is and trying to push it constantly, away. And in that exercise of pushing the line away, it becomes more about pushing mentally or subliminally or whatever, increasing that, I don't want to call it shock value, but just that attention velocity. And there's so much more that you can look at without just constantly trying to push the line. I feel like we do sort of push the line of what people want to see, what they're willing to digest. We only work with artists who are Middle Eastern, maybe have lived all their lives in London or New York, but have a Middle Eastern ethnic background. We really came together out of the idea that art from the region isn't very well represented internationally. In addition to the fact that it's not well represented internationally, there's not a lot happening locally that helps them with those stepping stones to reach international platforms. A lot of times now, an artist from the region, they'll be successful to a certain point in the region, and then if they want to make that next step, they've got to go live in London, Paris, or New York.
Absolutely. I mean, a lot of our artists that have, let's say the artists that had already gone away to pursue their careers or to study abroad are always very keen to show their work back here. It's very, very different when Youssef Nabil shows in Paris or New York than when he shows in the region, in Dubai, because people react to the work differently.
We've got our eye on a number of international art fairs. I mean, before this even came on the map. So it's, it's exciting in that sense. And we're the only group from actually the whole Gulf that's showing. So that's quite an honor as well.
We represent about
23.
I should know that off the top of my head. We represent 23 artists.
Yeah,
but and we're showing about 15, aren't we?
19.
We can't not say that we're a little bit it's a bit daunting, We've been open for a little under 2 years, and a lot of these galleries that are participating are very established, and have been doing what they've been doing for many, many years. And, but I feel as if, I feel like our focus is strong, our artists are great, and the attention will be a little bit much, but I think it'll be all sort of a good thing, a good learning exercise for us, and I'm just hoping they didn't put us like right next to White Cube or something.
By 3, are we totally sure? Sure. Don't tell me what I want to hear, tell me the truth.
Sure. Okay.
Okay.
You want me to make 50-50 or you want to make them have
Good question. Maybe we do a whole radical rethink, and we hang. Maybe we do all the photographs over there and all the paintings here. My first reaction was, "You've got to be joking." And then I thought, new markets. It's quite interesting to see what's happening here, and I'm interested in other markets. I was born and brought up in Hong Kong, and I recently did a show in Hong Kong, and it was very successful. There must be a burgeoning middle class who will begin to decorate their house instead of with posters. They'll start buying real art, just like the English did in the 19th century and like everybody else did in the 20th century. With prosperity comes buying art. By definition, it must do. I don't know if anybody knows anything about art here. I'm sure some of them do because they're intelligent. They've made their money. They're great traders here in Dubai. Obviously, I think it's only 10% of the GDP is made out of oil. So they've actually made it by looking to the future, looking forward. And I'm sure they've read books. I'm sure they've looked on the internet. I'm sure they've prepared themselves to a certain degree. And a lot of them travel. So they must have been to museums. They know who Picasso is. They know who Damien Hirst is. And they know their local artists. I don't know what to expect, really. I really don't. I think it's quite possible we'll sell absolutely nothing. It's quite possible we'll take nothing home.
And then, we'll just come back.
They messed up. They got the wrong length of walls.
Don't worry about it. We'll come over.
If something feels wrong, you've got to double check everything. People bring the third world here. They don't have a fucking clue. They've never done an art show before. Hi, hello Jack. How are you?
Hello. How are you? I understand you came by the booth. I wasn't there, so. Okay. Hello. How are you guys?
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. I just had a big talk, so I have like questions to get here. Yes.
I know.
I like the local, the Middle Eastern art much more than what comes from elsewhere. Quality-wise. Some of these artists like Farhad Mosheri or Shirin that you have are some of their great pieces. However, when you have a Basquiat, obviously it's not the same thing. So, or the Damien Hirst are not his best works. So, but this work of Farhad Mosheri is one of his top works. I bought a few pieces. I bought this, by the way. I bought a few base pieces.
Dubai is not itself a cultural city, but you think it's a good host city.
Yeah, I mean, it's a young city, so it has no long artistic tradition, but you're just seeing through the people that are coming here that they're creating something from scratch, and in many ways that's much more exciting and much more liberating than, say, having a burden of artistic heritage sometimes.
We just sold our first picture. Yes. That would be breaching client confidentiality. There is obviously a huge amount of cash swashing around the region. The equity markets are in turmoil. It seems like a pretty safe haven art at the moment if you can get it right. Is this the tear catcher? So you catch a tear, and then you put the water or the tear into a vial, and on the vial you write the day I had my second baby.
That is beautiful. Too bad I had my kids already.
I know.
That is great.
The day my kids went off to boarding school. So the tear catcher is £9,250. I don't understand this. 3,200.
This is 3,200.
What number is that? Inshallah, everything will be ready for the opening.
there is this new development called the culture complex. The idea of this complex is that it shouldn't just be a block of flats. It was meant to be a whole environment giving a cultural edge to Dubai, which was meant to be lacking up to now. So it's meant to be a corrective to that. Like the Dubai Art Fair is there, the Cultural Village will be there, the Versace Hotel is there, an opera house is there, large libraries, large galleries, everything cultural as opposed to commercial. Well, I booked 2 apartments, one to live in and one to rent. And it's a whole sort of theme park effect about it, not just you in a villa. The look of it is a bit like Disneyland. There is a certain artificiality about it, and yet very pleasurable to live. My wife will be coming here and staying here. But she has not liked Dubai that much in the past. She finds everything is rather artificial. Even if it's a new building, it's a bit like a film set. It looks as if you push it too hard, the walls will collapse. I keep my house in London, very much. Yeah, I've had the house for a long time. I go back and forth, and this you'll find with a lot of people in Dubai. At one point of time, it was very difficult to convince a family to come to Dubai. In fact, my children don't like it that much here. Everything here, they say, is all hotel orientated. Everything's an hotel.